All right, what is up, everybody? It is the Draco Meteorologist here. I've got a couple of guests for a podcast, introducing Mike, who plays in our league as Woahcowboy, and then Ben, who is his roommate and another Pokemon Draft League player, just not in our league. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the draft board, as well as just some of the teams that we just had in our draft, kind of gear up and get ready for this first season. But I talk so much, I don't want to continue talking. So I'm gonna kind of let the other two guys take it away, introduce themselves and stuff like that. So how about we start with you, Ben?
Yeah, sure. My name is Ben. My made-up name is WPBeartic, and I coach a team in the Midwest Pokemon League. I also commission in this league. I coach a team called the Hong Kong Bronzongs, and I commission the Midwest Pokemon League that is been around for more than 10 years now. So very familiar with the draft format, and still gets me excited and thrilled every time we start a new match.
What's up, guys? My name is Mike. I use Woahcowboy around the internet. This is my second time playing with Ryan and the boys here in the NBA, and I also played two different splits in the MWPL. So I'm just kind of getting into it. I've basically been playing for like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Um, yeah, having a lot of fun with it and excited to play some mons with my friends.
Ben, I did not realize that you have been playing for 10 years. So have you been playing for 10 years, or just the league has been around for 10 years?
The league has been around for 10 years. We started playing this when I was a junior in high school. The first season, or we call them splits. The first split was spring 2015. And we had seen associations like the Global Battle Association that were popular on YouTube back in the day. We kind of borrowed their format of the OUA, OUB, BL, UU, RU, NU into those categories of tiering Pokemon. And we had been literally just playing Pokemon Showdown on our school issued iPads during the school days. And then we finally uh, formed the league, and it's been going pretty much at least 2 or 3 seasons a year since then.
Okay, so are you guys pretty consistent on like going back to back, or is it once a draft is done, then you take a little bit of a break until you kind of have enough people that are like, hey, like let's do some more.
There was a stretch where like nobody was really burned out for a while, where we would go like spring straight into summer, straight into like a fall season after that, and then like a rookie season somewhere in the middle. We're trying to get more people added in. Nowadays we kind of stick to the schedule of having a summer season and a winter season. So we're gonna see. Right now we're on a divisional format where it's just 10 weeks. Play people in your division twice, and then four other matches against people like along your tiering. Um, and recently we've also been trying out a Swiss format where you play people based on what your record is. So if you win in your first week, you'll play somebody else who has the same record as you, and so on for the rest of the season. So we've been rotating between those formats. I think that's kind of the next stage where we can find some consistency in the league. But
Okay.
we're just kind of going off the fly to see what people want to do. We put out a lot of surveys to figure out like what people want to play for the next format, what they did and didn't like from the previous season. So there's a lot of prep that goes into each season. So we do like to have a break in the middle.
I get you.
So twice a year.
I
Yeah.
get you there. Like I know you guys are like pretty big now too, right? Like where you consistently have over like 32 teams.
Yeah, well,
It
we maxed out at 28 the season before this. I think 24 is a good number, but we're currently in discussion to figure out if we want to expand to 32 for a Swiss season.
okay.
Again, we just got to figure out. We're almost done with our season 17 here, and then we'll be figuring out what people want to play next.
Okay. So for the viewers, I'm going right now. All you can see is my face, at least right for the second. But I kind of want to know a little bit more about your like your board, kind of how you figured that out, and then instead of showing my face, I'll edit this video and kind of show that. So like our boards are very different. I remember looking at them, right? Like we've typically taken ours from like the Smogon draft boards, or we've taken them from like a lot of the Pokeaim draft leagues, at least from the last few years. We've kind of just copied those and made very small adjustments based off of our I guess our little tier list that we felt like Pokemon were too strong or too weak. How did you guys figure out your tiering? and explain that a little
So
bit more for me.
yeah, for sure. First off, I do want to say just how nice the spreadsheets for your league look. Those are the formatting's really nice. Everything looks very clean. It's very nice to follow all the different tabs and everything, especially like I don't know, the formatting's really nice. The draft board is very cool. We might all we have is a like a WordPress site that just has all of the names written out. So we'll be definitely taking some inspiration from this. But yeah, sorry, what was the question?
Basically, how did you guys determine this draft board?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier the Global Battle Association was the first league. That was God. There's so many old PokeTubers that were part of those leagues, but one of those I think you mentioned Pokame was actually in one of those leagues for a little bit under the Bronx Beartics. They had the format where it was 6 tiers, which is OUA at 180 points, OUB 140 points, BL 100 points, UU 80 points, RU 60 points, and NU 40 points. And the requirement is that you draft at least one from every tier, and then with your 5 remaining Pokemon totaling up to 11, you've basically got 560 points to meet the total there. So the way those points work out is that you can at max have only 2 OUAs, and then you have to fill out the rest of your team. And you can maybe do like 3 OUBs if you want, but then you'd only have 1 OUA. So a lot of the draft philosophy is, all right, how can we make the most of our 560 remaining points, because we have to have one from each tier. So it's not like a lot of the leagues that function today that Pokame especially has been running. But we like it. It's a system that has worked for us for a really long time, and we like continuing with it and kind of toying with it as we go.
Absolutely. I know there was one time where we've kind of done like a tier based like that, where you basically had like a tier 1 Pokemon down to tier 5, and you had a specific number of Pokemon that you had to take from those tiers that you couldn't really differentiate from. So it was our first I think it was Gen 9 UU. Um, and we really liked the points. It felt like we could kind of create our team a little bit more instead of being kind of like pigeonholed or shoeholed into specific tiers. So, but I'm not saying that yours is bad or ours is better than yours. It's just kind of a difference that I have seen, and if you guys are enjoying it, then that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So you've kind of started with this draft board, and then like when new Pokemon get added, right? Because 10 years ago was like Gen 6, Gen 7, maybe. I don't exactly know. But obviously, there's been a few generations since then, and Pokemon have been added. How do you guys end up doing the tiering for those addition of Pokemon from back when you started, where you probably just kind of copied a board?
Yeah, tier shifts are kind of like a big holiday moment for the league. It's our league is structured or is led by a council of 5 folks, myself being the commissioner, and then 4 other council members. And we essentially act as a tiering council. So we take recommendations from people around the league, based on just what they think about these new Pokemon that are released, especially if it's like Scarlet Violet with the new sets that came out, or new Pokemon there, and especially if there's any Pokemon that came from like, I remember when Sword and Shield came out, there were a lot of new Pokemon in Crown Tundra, such as like Regidrago, Regieleki, the Galarian Birds. Whenever those Pokemon get added to the game, the next set of tier shifts that we do right before the next season is a fun opportunity to not really know how these Pokemon are gonna be competitively. All we really get is kind of their first introduction on Showdown and OU. So we kind of take a sec to analyze them. We try to make assumptions based on how we think they're going to play or how they would function on a team of 11. And then based off of early suggestions from like people who have opinions on where they should be placed, we kind of say, all right, should they be placed in this tier or this tier? And then we vote as a council of 5 on each of those Pokemon. And then once that voting session is complete, then we'll just release the whole tier shifts spreadsheet out, and then they get added to our tiering list as well. And then if there's any updates that we want to make, especially to like Let's say that we had like Dragonite at OUA for a really long time. We don't think Dragonite could be an OUA for much longer. It hasn't been drafted a whole lot, or it's being outclassed by other OUAs and is not getting as much attention anymore. That's where we would consider maybe dropping it down a tier. So that's something that we always take into consideration. After every season, we always take suggestions from folks around the league as well, where they're like, yeah, I think this Pokemon's been at UU for a really long time. I don't think it should be worth 80 points anymore. I think it should be worth 60 points, and then we'll discuss as a council and then vote on it.
I like that. I was about to follow up with the question of like how and when do you guys change these tiers, right? With the Pokemon that have already been around. So it seems like you guys kind of started 10 years ago with a nice board, and then ever since then, when these Pokemon get added and stuff like that, you have a council of basically elders, right, who have been around the longest to kind of vote on what type of Pokemon and where they should be changed, if they should be changed, and when these new Pokemon get added, right? So
Yeah.
pretty accurate. Some. Alrighty. I don't think I have any other questions for you, Ben. Mike, you've been a part of both of these leagues now. Obviously, the NBA only one, and two for the Midwest Pokemon League. Which one have you liked better, at least in terms of drafting? Like, what draft board did you enjoy more? The points, where you had a little bit more flexibility, or the tiers?
Uh, I've actually been a big stickler in the other draft about the point system. I think it's a much more streamlined version of that. I think what I've pitched in what I've pitched for the other league is to get rid of the tier shifts and just drop the zero off of all those numbers. I think that just makes it a little bit cleaner. You know, your BLs become 10 points instead of 100, just fewer numbers to deal with. My other thing though with our league that's really nice with the NBA is this draft board is so pretty. The way it loads in Pokemon makes it very easy to like look at and read. What is nice with the MWPL is we had a guy like make a website that helped us build teams. So I used his kind of website design to help build my team when we were drafting. I don't know, a couple months ago. Whereas this time around, I just went with like a prep doc that I found on the internet, and then I was able to kind of run through some of the scenarios and some of the Pokemon that I liked. So both have their pros and their cons. The tier system is nice because you get to build very specific teams, and Pokemon are like really hard locked into those roles. But the point buy system is it requires less thinking, and I like that because I'm just a smooth brain guy.
Sure, I gotcha. And Ben, what has the perception been when Mike has kind of brought up these point-based and kind of axing the tiers? Have people been for it, against it? Are you thinking about changing? Or maybe
I feel
doing
like
like
we
a
talked.
trial?
Oh yeah, no, I feel like we've talked about it so often about maybe going to this system of instead of having hard lock at 18 points, 14 points, 10 points, taking away the number, Mike, for Mike here. Um, I think going
Thank you.
to specific tiers where you got something valued at like 18, but then you've got something valued at 17 points. I think it's always been interesting, and I think that would solve a lot of the issues where we've got something who's like a borderline OUA, but is clearly just outclassed by the rest of the OUAs on their board. I think valuing that at like 170 points or 160 points could kind of solve a lot of those issues that people have had. It's just making that leap. I think with how long this league has been around, I feel like a lot of us are pretty stubborn with big changes like this.
I get it.
But I'd be open to maybe finding those in between tiers and trying to solve that problem that way. The big thing is we just want to make sure that teams aren't able to get away with getting three OUAs or three OUA equivalents on their team in a specific draft. I think that's been the big thing that we've wanted to solve, and we finally solved that probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned that, right? At the beginning of our inception, when we started doing these leagues, the first couple of times we had some people that, like you said, just drafted all of the best Pokemon, right? Like we were pretty flexible. Like you could have like between 8 and 10 Pokemon, and then you only had this many points. And then these teams drafted basically 7 of these top tier Pokemon, and then like a 1 pointer or something like that, right? Like a crappy baby Pokemon. And at the beginning we were just like, this is kind of stupid, right? Like we're only seeing these top tier threats over and over again, and us being a little bit smaller, right? Like so many Pokemon that were like mid-tier and maybe even like high mid-tier, we just didn't get to see because people were kind of doing that. So we came up with a rule where you could only spend a certain amount of your elected points. So let's say it was 110 points. You could only spend like 40 of it on these top 5 tiers, right? So it kind of allowed you to do where like, okay, I can grab 2 of these 19 and 18 Pokemon, but then I don't get a third one. But if I grab like 3 15s, right, then I can kind of use those points instead. So maybe it's like 50 points of those top 5, and it kind of incentivizes you where like, yeah, you can grab the best of the best, but then you're kind of missing out on some of those higher tiers. So I really enjoyed that. We've definitely moved away from it because I think people just haven't been doing it as often, I guess, or we got a little bit better at drafting, where at these early years people were kind of taking these random 12 and 13 pointers in the first couple rounds, and then the people that were pretty good at drafting just took like all of the high tier whenever they came to it, right, and then kind of built a team around that. So use that as you may. Like, there is a way to kind of get around it where you can kind of still hard lock that top tier while allowing, more individuality with the teams with these points. So I want to get into our draft a little bit more because I know we've been blabbering. This was awesome information. Thank you so much, both Ben and Mike, for talking about your league. I think it is cool to kind of see that you've been around for so long, and it makes sense why people don't really want to change, or it'd be tough to change, right? If you guys are having fun, like why would you change in the first place? So I get where you're coming from. We'll kind of move on to this next section that I have for you guys. So, what makes a team good in your opinion, right? Like when you're on that draft board, what is something where like you're planning a good team, right? You want to draft a good team. What do you do?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. There are a few things that I look for, and I don't know. We've got some people in our league who are really good at breaking down just what is good about a specific team. There's so many categories. I even watched your video earlier today, just breaking down the draft of this most recent season that you guys were running. And the system and all the values that you had on the right hand side were like exactly what we look for. It's what hazard setters do you have? What hazard removers do you have? What cores can you set up? I think we put a lot of value in our Fairy Steel Dragon cores in the league, as well as Fire Water Grass cores. So we try to look for those combos as well. Those are just hints as to how well your team is built. So those are a couple things that we look for. I always like to look for momentum. If we can get slow moving like U-turns and volt switches, flip turn being added to the game was insane as well. Moves like that, I've always put a lot of value in because it's always trying to find your best spot on the board. I don't like you can have a good team on paper, but if it doesn't move properly and you're not able to find any momentum in a match, I find you'll always be on your heels and always playing according to the moves of your opponent rather than taking initiative yourself with setting up the best position. So I always put a lot of emphasis into momentum. But yeah, and that and just setting up the right cores. If you can set up a core of about 3 or 4 Pokemon that you can center your team around and throw in some accessories to help it succeed, I've always found that that's the way that I've been able to build best. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the crux of my philosophy.
I'm big on playing with Pokemon that I think are fun.
Nice.
I understand the principle behind building core teams, right? It makes for good, clean stuff. It makes all your matchups kind of nice and clean and consistent. But I don't know. My first split, I played. I got a recommendation to pick up Dragonite and Earthworm from the guys in the NBA, and I had a ton of fun playing with those Pokemon. I used D-Knight, my Pokemon Champions team, to get to Master Ball in the singles setting, and then I came around and actually got to play in the NBA, and I drafted Superior, who I didn't use as well as I would like to have, but it was a Pokemon that I had seen be used in my other league, and it looked like a lot of fun, so I wanted to try it. The same thing went with like a Reggie Draco type. That Pokemon's just so fun, just to be faster and win games because you are. It's goofy, it's silly, I like it. Uh, and now for my most recent split, I was really excited to just play Pokemon that click huge, powerful moves. I've been playing in some more limited formats, and so to have this option blow up for me, I was just really excited to click big number move, if you will.
Yeah, if you saw my most previous video, I was talking about how it did look like you drafted Pokemon you just wanted to play, and they are bulky, they are offensive, they're gonna be smacking hard. Like, don't get me wrong. So I completely understand where you're coming from, where you want these joy sparking Pokemon, right? And if it's not the most complete draft, like as long as you're having fun, why does it matter? So
Yeah, I trust myself to outbattle the draft.
I get you. I mean, playoffs. First season. That's nothing to scoff at in our league. A lot of the times, newcomers kind of absolutely shit the bed. So being able to make your way in top six is definitely an accomplishment. Especially with, I'm pretty sure we had like your team bottom two last time as well. So
Yeah, you guys had me last.
hey, exactly.
So that's 2 years in a row, or two
That's
splits in a row, I should say.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, awesome. I like that. So let's take a look at our draft board here, actually, and then specifically, do you guys both have it pulled up on a screen?
Yep.
Look at the rules. That's like one of the things that I kind of want to talk about is both the rules and the draft board. What are some things that, like, other than what we talked about of like the points difference, we're a little bit more flexible with the amount of Pokemon you can have, but what are some rules that you see for us that we have maybe banned or not banned compared to your guys' league?
So the first one that I think of right away is we play with a lot of discontinued moves that are like no longer available in leagues. And I asked you about this earlier. I know you guys are running Pursuit. We still play with Hidden Power, and that is something that I've like asked if people would be all right with us removing. And as I mentioned, we're a very stubborn league. We like to play the way we've always been playing, and Hidden Power has been one of those moves that we always play with. So we're talking like those high speed electric types that have never had who don't have access to Hidden Power Ice anymore. Those Pokemon still have. We're talking like Jolteon, Raikou, Mega Manectric. These Pokemon were very
This was all
firm on those.
super annoying to play against, by the way.
I know it makes it makes the draft room so hard. Sorry, continue, Ben. Continue, Ben.
No, that was basically it. Hidden Power is the big move. I know Tail Glow is discontinued. We still play with that on Manaphy, and I think Volbeat gets it as well, but it's not relevant. What else? But yeah, playing with Pursuit.
A couple things
The
that
body press
that
rule
I
is the
know.
big one for me.
And
Oh,
thank,
yes,
thank you
yes,
for bringing
yes,
that up,
yes.
Mike. The body press. So there's got to be a story behind that, right? Like there must have been one season where somebody or maybe a couple people had like iron defense or barrier or whatever plus body press, because that is the wildest rule I've ever heard. So I got to know the backstory behind it.
So-
And yeah.
I will say I've always been for having body press in the league, but again, we've come to the decision that like if it is allowed in the league, it will be abused. The set that really did it was I think Juan Panamon ran it. The Shanghai Sharpedos ran a Registeel with Iron Defense body press, and then Rest Recovery as well. So even if you burned it or did anything to it, it would just rest back up, get rid of that status condition, and it would keep clicking Iron Defense Body Press with Sleep Talk. And sure, you can like roar it or whirlwind it out, and like it'll go away and it'll lose all those stats, but it's just gonna come back in and keep doing it. We found a lot of Pokemon.
Flamethrower existed as a move,
Or
apparently.
taunt,
Not if you're running high SPDF, man.
taunt, encore,
Yeah.
ghost type Pokemon exist. Like
Yeah.
I get it. Like I understand. Maybe I don't get it.
Yeah,
but
like it
I
stops it for a
understand-
turn, right? And then it'll just come back
Well,
in. And
no,
it'll keep
taunt,
doing the thing.
taunt.
Because
If you do that over and over again, you're gaining momentum, right? Like if let's say you see this Registeel come in, and you've seen them already, like what is a Registeel gonna do? Click the Iron Defense Body Press with like a Rest Berry, right? That's 3 moves immediately, so then its last move of coverage might be like Sleep Talk, or maybe it's like a knockoff for the ghost types, right? Like that's not doing a lot of damage because Registeel doesn't hit hard. So
Not
like
until it clicks body press.
having
You gotta remember, we got Registeel tiered at RU, which is like 60 points. The rest of the team is removing the things that cause problems for Registeel. So we're talking like halfway through the match. Once all those threats have been removed, Registeel is able to just kind of do that thing. And if you have to put so many resources towards this one Pokemon that's worth 60 points that I think we moved up to 80 because of this eventually. And then we just got rid of the move eventually. Once if you have to put this many resources to a specific strategy, we just found that it was unfun to play against. And I really like Body Press as a move. I think it's a really fun like concept of a move where I don't need to load all my stats into my attack, and I can just load up on these defensive stats, and then I've got a move that can hit for the amount of damage based on. I think that's a great concept, but it was getting abused too much in our league, and our council eventually decided to remove it from the league, along with Baton Pass in any format as well. We, for the longest time, had Baton Pass available as you can pass nothing else but speed stats. That was like the rule we had for the longest time. So it gave Pokemon like Scolipede or Ninjask a function in the league, just to like boost up those slower Pokemon that you might be able to sweep with. Baton Pass we eventually got rid of because people were centralizing their strategies around it and just didn't want to play against it anymore. Again, I've been pro having those in the league in some format myself, but the masses of our league just do not want to play with them because of how niche and gimmicky the mechanics have been.
I get you. All right, I'll say my 2 cents now, and we can move past the body
For
press.
sure, yeah.
Right. I think it is something like, especially if you guys have hidden power, like that is impossible to prep against, right? Like every character now has every coverage move ever. I think it's like impossible to prep against, right? Or like you kind of have like a Gliscor or these quad weak Pokemon, and now you feel like you're safe, but then whoops, here comes that hidden power fire or hidden power ice, right? For Pokemon that really technically shouldn't have this coverage. So it almost makes those quad weak Pokemon just so much worse with it being in the game, and hence why it's removed in our league and how we've seen it removed in other leagues. And in Body Press, like I get you have to use some of your brain and prep room to make sure that like I don't let this Registeel get +6 and click Body Press, right? Whether it's like, I'll bring a Ghost type this week, right? Or I'll bring somebody who's faster who can click Taunt or Encore, and then forever they will just like I'll have the lead based off of that. So I get it if people were abusing it and it was unfun. And again, this is your guys' league, and if the majority of people are like ban it, I see that. But it is one of those things too where like I look at the Pokemon like Corviknight and the other bird Pokemon, or like Chestnut too, Skarmory, yep, like Chestnut, like these Pokemon that like Body Press was like one of their really good moves, and they typically don't use Iron Defense to like prop it up. It's just to help deal with the other Steel types, right? Removing that makes those Pokemon seem so much worse and lackluster. So I see where you guys are coming from. To me, it's just like always the running joke of our league of like, do they not know that Taunt, Whirlwind, Encore, Ghost types, these things resist, right? There's so many answers to it. To outright ban it seemed a little crazy. But yeah.
I think your take on it is valid, and I'm glad that you guys have not gotten to the point where it's been abused. I'm glad you guys are just playing with it as, oh yeah, Body Press, the fun move. I'm glad that you guys have not reached that point, but we just got a lot of gamers in our league where it's like, how can I break this specific strategy and abuse it to the point where I'm just automatically getting wins, and that's what was beginning to happen. So I'm glad that you guys have not gotten to that point in your league, and it's still just a fun move.
Sweet. Mike, what are your thoughts playing with and without Body Press? How's it been? Have you like noticed a difference?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what's funny is I play Zamazenta week 1, like
Oh, that's
Body
so
Press
true.
King, so, and I don't have a Ghost type Pokemon.
And 3 normal types.
Yeah, so like, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm like, I think Body Press is fine. It can get out of hand. Yeah, like I've seen it sweep a bunch of like Ranbats, and even in stuff like Champions. But like, you can play around it. It's not that bad. I think Hidden Power is way more frustrating as somebody, again, who played with like our top set last split. Just all of a sudden getting HP iced by a Pokemon that like HP was never on the brain for is a bummer. But that really is just more or less because I am new to all of this stuff too. So like those surprises still hit me. I got like swept by a Tauros this past week, or not this past week, but a couple weeks ago. So
I think that's a
body
good
press is
point
fun.
though. I think it's a good point on hidden power though. Like I think the reason why we are so keen to keep hidden power in our league is because it has been around for the length of time that this league has existed. So like when you say HP is not on the brain, hidden power is on the brain for us. It's like it's
Yeah.
ingrained into how we've thought about these Pokemon. So I think it was so jarring that they removed it from a lot of these Pokemon that I think we just wanted to keep the thing we've had for so long. But I think like your take is correct. I think not being familiar with it is very frustrating. And it's kind of like how any Pokemon can terrestrialize in the current Scarlet Violet meta. That aspect of it is very frustrating. So I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right, let's go into this last question before we kind of like go through these teams. I want you to look at the overall draft board, right? What are some Pokemon on here that, this is OU, right? Not Ubers. What are some Pokemon on here that you feel like are way too high, way too low, or maybe some that are missing?
So I
Uh,
think go ahead and start.
yeah, sorry, just like some off the bat that I have. I think Clodsire and Conkeldurr are in the same. This like comes up in my team peaks, but I think Clodsire and Conkeldurr in the same tier is absurd. Clodsire is not as good as Conkeldurr. Um, One of the other things I noticed, I think like the fish is really high, Alomola in 13. I just don't like the way some of those Pokemon play, and like paying that much for it up high feels like a lot. I recently tried playing with a Aegislash, uh,
Aegislash.
Aegislash. I always say it wrong, and I found it pretty lackluster. I know it's like a historically great Pokemon, but I just personally couldn't pilot it to some success, so 14 felt high for me. Uh, and I was pretty shocked to see Meowscarada and Terapagos at 18. I Meow just feels like a Pokemon that dies to Rocky Helmet without much thought, and Terapagos just feels like it's really easy to play around. I watched it kind of over these last couple of splits, and it doesn't impress me, especially at an 18-point tier.
So I'll quickly I'll go in and kind of defend some of these point values because you hit on one that I really wanted you to, which was Alomomola, right? Like this Pokemon has started so low on our tier and has continued to climb and continue to climb every single time because people love drafting these bulky regenerator, slow pivot Pokemon. Like having something like that just has been so fundamental in the way that our draft or our league likes to draft. So you'll see that tax, right? Alomomola way too high for 13 overall, but somebody took it at like the wheel
Yeah, good point.
at
Good
the at
point.
like the fourth round, right? Somebody took it before Tusk. Someone took it before Great Goddamn Tusk, right?
That's insane.
Like I
That fish
was
went. Oh yeah.
this is the first time too that all of the slow Pokemon like Slowbro, Slowking, right? Like and since it's Dex, they now get teleport back too. But before it was just the chilly reception. Like people love these Pokemon and they were consistent. Like if you didn't draft it in the first two rounds, you weren't gonna get it, right? So these bulky pivots, I think in our league is different than like the like we'll take a board from like the showdown mock boards, right, for this Natdex tier, and then we'll kind of go through and then based off of what we've played with, move these things around. So, like Clodsire being one, like I think just performs really well on stall. I'll be honest, like I hate Clodsire. I do think that Pokemon sucks, and I agree he's probably too high. Um, Meow has just been consistently like shown as like the best scarfer ever in the game and having protein with that speed tier. Like I do get the Rocky helmet, like you definitely have to think about clicking triple axle into somebody, but you can always run if you're not going scarf, you can always run protective pads too, right? So like the moves it gets, the speed and physical attack is just super strong. And then Terapagos, it's more of like what it can all do with its bulk, right? uh, just like smacking a
Yeah,
boots
it can
on
get
that thing.
dead.
Yeah, it's almost like a get out of jail free card every single time, right? So Maybe you're playing against Body Press and they get +6, right? I can now bring in Terapagos and it's going to be a not very effective move, no matter what it is, because that's my ability, and I have so much bulk. That's another thing. Terapagos has so much bulk, and it basically has every single move in the game, like every coverage move. It has the rocks, it has the rapid spin, right? So it's one of those Pokemon that just checks off a lot of like draft league boxes that you want. Hence why it is so high. So. But no, I like all these because our boards are different from each other, and this board also differs from like even the Smogon like most recent draft boards. So, but Ben, what else? What have you seen on here?
I think the biggest thing that I think separates where our league right now is compared to the NBA is probably just what you guys have available in the league. And I know you guys are playing down with a lot of Pokemon that would typically be banned that are now available in the league. But just to list off like Pokemon that are on our ban list in our league, Iron Valiant, Zamazenta, Megalodios, Darkrai. Well, Darkrai we actually brought down for a season, but we just unbanned like 4 big Pokemon. But were previously banned in our season. Darkrai, Gouging Fire, Goldango, Kartana, Kyurem, Megalodios, Roaring Moon, Palafin. What else?
You guys have
We got some other.
Dragapult unbanned though, right?
We have Dragapult unbanned. Yes.
And you, okay, all right, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's a good point to bring up too. We have Dragapult unbanned because we've found it as, I guess, the balancing first overall pick. If a team has it, it doesn't have like the insane physical ghost move other than Phantom Force, right? So we've found that it hasn't been as damaging, but it's able to run a lot of different sets really well. So that's why it's kind of in the same category as Iron Valiant, where like it can really do a whole bunch of different stuff, and you don't really know what set it's going to bring each week, but it's not dominant in any of those categories. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I think if it had something like a Shadow Sneak or like a Shadow Claw or even Poltergeist, I think it'd be in a different category and it'd probably be banned from our league. But the fact that it doesn't have that like centralizing good physical ghost stab move has kind of kept it lower. Like for the longest time, we had Kyurem Black in our league because it didn't have either Dragon Dance or like a physical ice move in its move pool. So it was restricted to Ice Beam and whatever its like signature ice move is that's like a 2-turn setup. Like those are the only like ice moves it got. It didn't get Icicle Spear and Dragon Dance until a lot later. And that's why we had regular Kyurem at BL for the longest time. Till we brought it up to OUA and then eventually banned it because the loaded dice set was just insane to run with Icicle Spear. That's just a little bit. I'm trying to think of other ones that I see here. Once you go below 16, Urshifu Single Strike we banned because the crit dark move that nobody can not resist but be immune to.
Like protect.
That one became a really big problem in our league. What else? We banned Walking Wake, but that was just for the rain teams.
Rain.
In a world, I think we could bring that one back.
Rain
and Sun. Rain and Sun. Yeah.
Okay. It's
because it can function on both of those.
I guess. I can. Yeah. You're not wrong.
We banned Galarian Darmanitan just because of guerrilla tactics. Do you guys have that legal?
Yep, we do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I agree with that one. To go back to Alomomola though, I agree with you that is a very good Pokemon. I agree that it should be placed really high. We actually have it in our highest tier at OUA for 180 points. So think of it being valued the same as your like Landers Therian or your Terapagos. That is what we as a league think of Alomomola. If you want to pay 180 points to get this amazing Regenerator Wish Passer that can now flip turn slowly, by all means, like take it. You just only get one other OUA with it at most. So we value Wish Passing very highly in the league. We'll even talk a little bit later about the guy who drafted Alomomola and Annihilate because I think that's a great combo. But yeah, we have a lot of Pokemon banned that are on this board. So it's always interesting to see these where it's like, okay, do you only unban some of these or do you unban all of them and then just let everybody in the league get like one of these broken like Ubers, you know? That's kind of what we've been going back and forth on as far as like our tiering board and our tier lists.
I think you also made another good point right at the beginning. I just didn't want to stop you. Is like the person with the first pick, they're not picking for like 40 or 50 more picks, right? So
Yeah.
I do see how like in fantasy football, if you have the first pick, you're going to take the person who's probably going to score the most fantasy points, right? Like it shouldn't be super balanced like that, right? And that's why the snake draft exists. And then for Pokemon, right? Like I can understand like there's been times when people are like, yes, I'm so glad I'm the 910 because now I get two of these really good Pokemon instead of like maybe a top tier that I like really wanted, but like they're really not that much different. So I can see the polarity even of like us having at maximum. I think we've had 12 people in our league at one point, but you guys having 28 one season, like having to wait from that first pick for basically that 56th or 57th best Pokemon. I do see why you might have a Dragapult or something like that in the tier.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go into the teams because I mean I love the content we've had, but I did not expect this to be 40 minutes before even talking about our rosters. So we can kind of just start with the top left and then kind of go from there, like first, second, third, fourth, fifth pick. So we'll start with Milwaukee Moons or Sam. What are your guys' thoughts? I've already done a whole video on everybody, so I kind of want both of you to kind of talk a little bit about the teams, what you like, what you don't like. Don't need to like exactly rank them, but
Yeah, to
Yeah.
continuing on, just because I know you covered a lot of like what these teams do well, what coverages they have, all that. I won't go too much into that category. I'll add if it's appropriate to mention, but I think the cool thing to analyze with this is just like where did they draft these Pokemon? Like I think Mega Latias would be like the would make sense as a first overall pick in a league that I'm in, with the Midwest Pokemon League, but seeing this first overall is really interesting. But yeah, pairing it with the pivoting, like there's a lot of pivot on this team, which I really like. The Scizor and Rotom and Cinderace all being able to have that pivot is very interesting. And then being able to get Melmetal at the end of it. Melmetal is typically a first round pick uh, in our league.
Yeah, that
Somewhere in
that
the first
Melmetal
round
pick
is
at
like a
the end
wheel
there is
pick.
crazy. That was a really wild. That's really sweet. I like that he
Yeah.
came in at the very end to get it. That's a fun pickup. I'm interested with the Melmetal and how it pairs with Scizor. Right, you get the double metal. The double steel. We're a little worried about flamethrower, but I just played a series with Scizor, and wow, I love that Pokemon. It's so much fun. I caught a game-winning sweep with Scizor. Such a great such a great powerful mon, and I really like Enamorus incarnate here. I used Enamorus Theory in our last NBA split and I had a lot of fun with it, and I've seen Enam I go crazy in some games.
yeah, Fast Stab Moonblast is really good.
Yeah, it hurts.
hmm So we thinking top, middle, low tier, somewhere in between.
Depends on how they play, man. Depends on how they play.
But
I will say, I think the dark horse on this team is probably Crocodile. We as a league value Moxie
that's a
Mons
dark
and
crocodile, by the way, not a horse.
it's a dark croc. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we value the Moxie Mons a lot. So the Moxie comparatives where it's like, what are some examples? So like if Spectre had like Grimnay or any of the Beast Boost Mons from the
The Ultra
Ultra,
Beasts.
yeah, the Ultra Beasts. We value those really high because those can snowball pretty easily. So I think Crook's a great 12-point mon on this team that adds just a little bit more to it. But I really like the Fairy Steel Dragon Core, especially with Megalodius having access to Draining Kiss. Having access to the move is why we actually banned it in our league. So having that combined with Scizor, who's not pressured to be the lone Steel type on this team, with Melmetal in the back, I think that gives Scizor a lot of flexibility to run as well. And then, of course, Enam I. Um, it's really hard to beat a fairy type that has ground coverage. That's why we haven't seen a fairy ground type ever in the game. Because having those stabs would be, we'd have a very good Pokemon on our hands. So Enamorous, I having access to Earth Power and being able to hit for, God no, I can't even remember how big its Spec A stat is.
I think it's
It's
like
just a really good core.
130, 135 ish, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
just massive damage coming from the board at
135.
like 340, 342 speed. Like it's massive.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. I think so. I rated him 7. Uh, I'm like pretty solid on this ranking still. I think I did overhate on the fire weakness because I really don't think he's that weak. Having both Megalodios and Rotom, like these are great fire pivots. Like for having both Scissor and Melmetal, like I think that was like kind of one of my bigger knocks off of him. But like he did a really good job with his type matchups where like he's really not weak to anything. So I think just some of the Pokemon were a little bit tougher to play, and I didn't love his speed tiers, which is why I kind of knocked him down a little bit more. But alrighty, let us go to the second pick, which was actually me. So tell me your thoughts on my team.
Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, dude, I've heard so much about Mega Alakazam. I really wanted to play with it. I built out a Psy-Spam Psychic Terrain draft team for my last split, and I thought about using it. And kind of a funny story, I didn't realize the NBA was going to draft so soon. So I kind of woke up one morning and had the eighth pick, and it was already like five picks had already gone. So I had to get up and go. And one of the things that I saw right away was that Zam went, and I was so sad that I couldn't just whip out that team sheet I had put together. But I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I haven't actually seen it play in a singles format, so I'm excited to watch it just go absolutely ballistic. One of the other things I saw was Sneasler. The sneeze is so dirty, dude. That Pokemon, I've been playing with it in Champions, and not only is it so fast, but just to have such a random chance of being burned, paired, or slept is so frustrating to play against. And the third thing, I don't know if you know this, but Primarina's shiny sprite kind of looks like Sydney Sweeney, and I played with I played with Primarina in my last split, so I named it. I ran it as a shiny every time and named it Sydney Sweeney. That's just some fun food for thought.
Oh my gosh, you're actually so right.
Thank you.
This is a sick spread. I had to look. I'm typically not known to using shiny Pokemon at all unless I'm like struggling with their nickname. Then I'll try to like do a shiny Pokemon or something like that to jock some ideas. But this is hilarious. It is just a blonde white woman wearing jeans. And
Yeah, right.
is a great way to do it. So no, I like that.
I not to glaze you, I think this is the best team on the board. Just of all the teams that I've seen here. And it's tough to like judge a team versus like others that are just trying to build like a balanced team. Like when with a gimmick like Psychic Terrain, it's tough to compare those, and that goes for like any like weather teams or terrain teams. But I think what has had what Psychic Terrain teams have struggled with in our league at least is having anything to like go with the psychic types, right? So you're gonna have the Tapu Lele or the Indeedee, and then you're gonna have the Megazam or like a Deoxys Speed with Psycho Boost. You're gonna have those Pokemon that are, the psychic sweepers. But then what else do you pair with them? And I think Sneasler being available in your league is just gross. That is one Pokemon that I think, as an entire league, we've agreed we do not want to play with. The only unburdened Pokemon of that nature that has existed with that amount of power has been Hawlucha, and we even temporarily banned that in our league for a little bit. Sneasler is way faster and has like 20 more attack and access to Dire Claw and Stab CC. It's just one of the best Pokemon that has ever been conceived of, despite its quad weakness. And to pair that with a Psychic Terrain team is just a menace. So I think those three right off the bat function as a core. So to then add in mons like Iron Treads, Ferrothorn, a Firewater Grass Core, Ferrothorn, Moltres, Primarina, is insane. And I think the little thing to note here is the support that Moltres is getting from having Mandibuzz on the team. Moltres does not need to be the only defogger on this team, or because you've got Treads and Mandibuzz with defog and Rapid Spin respectively, that are able to allow Moltres to do more than just the defensive Flame Body heavy duty boots set. If you want to run the hyper offensive set or throw like a Specs on or anything like that, Moltres now has that function to function offensively rather than being pigeonholed to something defensive. So I'm really liking the team. I've played with Treads as well a little bit before. It's one of my favorite Pokemon to play with. And I'm glad that you kind of took the pressure off it as a steel type by adding Ferrothorn as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I've talked so much about my team. I like what you guys said. I like the Glaze. My first three picks were
Yeah,
both
you do.
lucky and amazing. So let's see how I can fuck it up this season, because that's typically what I do when I have a really good team. Or what other people think. So, all right, let's go to the third pick, which was Wogs. What do we think about him?
Goldango Darkrai is insane.
Yeah,
Um,
Goldangle Darkrai is insane. I think Darkrai's a really scary Pokemon. You're just gonna raw win games because you get outsped by Darkrai and it flinches you, right? Like there's just no other solution there. You're other than to lose. I don't think Goldango is as good as the tier that it is in. I watched it this split for the first time and I was not impressed by what I saw with it. And when I come across it in Ranbats, I'm also left being like, oh my god, like I see it and I think, oh my god, this is like a super cool Pokemon that's like supposed to be very powerful, and then it kind of just gets ran. I've never really seen it run away with a game itself, so I'm interested to see it in the singles format in the hands of somebody who can like really has built a team around it to be successful. So yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. I think Darkrai's so sick though. I think Skarmory's a fun Pokemon. I like this team. I just Golden. I don't know. I'm not good enough to play with Golden Go.
Golden Go's tough, that's for sure.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, Mike. I think the reason why Goldango didn't do as well as it should have this season is because Python of the Portland Trailblazers did not draft any hazard setters with it. Like he had the Goldango, he had the Terapagos with it at the beginning to guarantee that nothing else got set up on its side. And to not take advantage of the good as gold ability and getting as many hazards up as possible on the opposing side is how you don't succeed with Goldango. Because being able to force that pressure of, I'm going to set these hazards and you have no way to remove them, and you can't switch anything in to get rid of them other than like Tidy Up, right? That's the only move that like ignores it. So if you don't have that move, you don't have any way of getting those set up unless you have a threatening dark type that Goldango can't switch in on to then use the defog. And I think that's something that this team is going to struggle with. I think the only setters it has right now are Landorus and Skarmory. And Landorus is fine as a Stealth Rock setter. But Skarmory is not the Mon you want to be setting the hazards. You would rather it be the one removing the hazards. You can essentially function and have it do both things, but it's not able to do either effectively in that sense. So I think Goldango's a great mon. I don't know if it's going to have a lot of success with this team because it's not able to get the hazards up to then keep them off the field, if that makes sense.
I agree with a lot of what you said, Ben, and a very good synopsis of basically what I mentioned in my video. I thought the lack of having entry hazards and then no rapid spinner with Goldengo is kind of sad. Like Goldengo without the good of gold ability is still a good Pokemon, but like paying a top tier price, I feel like you should build around it a little bit more. And he did draft it first overall, so I was kind of surprised he didn't pair it up with like like Great Tusk and Treads were available for his first four picks, right? Afterwards, I think adding one of those types of Pokemon, probably Tusk, because Treads is already kind of doubling up on your Steel type, would have been really good. Because then you have another Great Rocker and Rapid Spin, and then like one other Premier like Stealth Rocker, Spike Setter, and things like that. And then I would have liked it a little bit more. I still think all the Pokemon are really good. Like I said, like you see Slowking sitting there, and I think him as a pivot tool is going to be really good. And then he's got great speed tiers. So he didn't build around Goldango as much as a lot of people do, but I don't think he is the center point of this team. I think after the draft is done. But yeah, any other thoughts on Woge's team before we move on to number 4?
Nah, I like your points though. I think Slow King makes the pivoting fun with this team.
Alrighty. Fourth pick was AJ Baby with Band Zamazenta. What are your guys' thoughts?
This is my week one matchup actually, so I probably spent the most time outside of looking at my own team, looking at this team.
Don't give too
Uh,
much information then, because AJ.
no, 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 no,
All
no, no,
right,
no,
all
no,
right, all
no,
right.
no, no, no. What I was gonna say, like my biggest takeaway is Mega Scizor at 17 is it just feels so expensive to me when regular Scizor exists at 14. I understand the why. I literally got swept by a Mega Scizor the other day in Pokemon Champions, so like I gotta really make sure I don't let that happen this time. Um, but I just like the option of running Scizor with a few different things other than having to run with the Mega Stone in hand. But Body Press Zamazenta is so crazy. It does. I was running some of the damage calcs and it just does a billion damage. Again, I've got a bunch of normal types on my Pokemon team, so like, of course it's gonna do a billion damage. I can't wait for the boys to unban it. Ben, please soon.
Zama.
Uh,
I mean, the fact that we have it banned. Oh wait, what Pokemon are you talking about?
Body Press, the move,
I was
not the
gonna say
Pokemon
Oh,
one.
dude, we don't
Zamazenta.
even. Yeah, we don't even have Body Press in our league, and we still have that banned.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll figure
Zamazenta
it
was
out.
one of
Hey,
those
we.
Pokemon that were teetering of whether or not it should be allowed in this league. It was like we had 5 votes, or maybe it was 4 Pokemon. Zamazenta, Alakazam, both passed and said yes. The other ones were Dragapult and Mike. Do you remember? I can't
No,
think of the other one. I know you
I was pretty
voted.
slammed the past couple of weeks. Yeah, I definitely voted. I have no idea what I was voting for, honestly. I was
I
just thumbs and down stuff and thumbs and up stuff.
I forgot what the other one was. But yeah, so this was like the we typically have had it banned, but people were just like, we can play around it. It'll be a top tier threat, but like we kind of wanted to see it again. And if it absolutely crushes, then it absolutely crushes.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't absolutely crush me. My last thought about this team is I've actually thought about some really funny Latios sets that involve them holding there's a move that grounds your Pokemon. It's like the
Iron
steel
Ball.
ball, iron ball. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought about running Latios in a Psy spam setting, holding the iron ball so it gets the advantage of the psychic terrain. I think it could be like a really funny gimmick team in a doubles format. I don't think it would work uh, very well in a singles format, but it is a funny thing that I think it's a funny thing that I think about.
Mega Starmie. That was oh well that didn't count. That didn't count. Dragapult. Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko was the other one. I had to scroll up in the
Yeah.
Discord messages.
Oh, Tapu Koko we banned from our league as well. We found that with all of the Iron or Quark Drive Pokemon, that was just the centralizing. Like, all right, whoever gets that gets a free ride at all the Quark Drive Mons, and we eventually just decided that it was too good.
Agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
AJ's team is scary. That's for sure. Ben, what are your thoughts?
The Zamazenta Great Tusk doubling up on the fighting types is interesting, and like you do have the Scizor in the back to support it. Um, Adding to that Fairy Steel Dragon Core, which I don't know if they. Oh yeah, Latios is the dragon. I'm a fan of the Fez. But the longer you look at that Pokemon, the more you realize just how many moves it doesn't get. So it's like nice for doing the roost and just survive category of style of play, but I don't know if that's the fairy you want to centralize around. I feel like there are a lot of really good fairies on this board, um, that are better than the Fez. But the rest of the team looks fine. I think doubling down on the fighting types is interesting, and I think Zamazenta, and just the physical presence on this team is going to be interesting to see how it kind of takes advantage of those teams that don't really have an answer for it.
That's true. He is extremely physical biased, I feel like, in this team. Like, Latios is an amazing special threat, but then you have, like, Rotom and Milotic, who, like, can hit, but, like, I would never consider them to be, like, strong special attackers, right? I
Right.
know Great Tusk was there in the end of the 4th round, and that is why he took this Pokemon. He had no plan on it, and then just kind of went from there. I do think he got a
If
lot
it's
of
there, you take it. Yeah.
yeah, he had a lot of good value with his last 4 picks as well. Like I think points for what he was able to get and round out his team. Having no dark type is the giant flaw in this draft. I think um, I really would have liked to see a dark type for these two fighting type weaknesses of like psychic and fairy, and your steel type being Mega Scizor to resist them.
I I
Like
think what would really work well on this team is like a good future sight setter. That's kind of been a gimmick that our league has been kind of playing into a little bit, where you get the future sight set up so that even if a dark type were to switch in, you've got these mons like Zamazenta and Great Tusk that threaten those dark types dark types out from being on the field, and then you're dealing 2 rounds of damage in that same turn. I think there are some mons that could really take advantage of that. So if he were able to find a way to get those on his team, I think he'd have a lot of fun.
Alrighty. Let's go with 5th pick overall. Fly round here.
So real quick,
Yep.
I saw that he's made 2 waivers, right? Do we know what those changes are?
Yeah, they've already changed. So it is
Gotcha. Okay.
Mega Manetric and Shuckle are the 2 waivers. He had Xerxes or something like that, the super
Yeah.
high special attacking Beast Boots Pokemon, and then like a Fracture or something like that, the 1-point dragon type. Um,
Sure.
so
Okay.
I think 2 positive changes for his team, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Well, I think Iron Valiant. That's Iron Valiant. I think is the crux of the Pokemon that will never see our league because, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Dragapult, like it can do so many different things, and having access to a Stab, Fairy, and Fighting move pool, in addition to other moves that are just the move pool it has is insane. Getting the free stat boost from the booster energy is also just a great way to like you are like chipping away at the rest of somebody's team throughout the match, and then you come in with Iron Valiant, and then you just win. Iron Valiant is an insane Pokemon, properly priced at 19. Um, I think Samurott is a really fun Pokemon as well. That's one that we priced it at OUB, and people like are chomping at the bit to get it late in the first round or early second round, and then just to have that with Terapagos as well. This is a really fun team. Especially, I forgot about Lando Eye. It's so low on the list. I can't believe it went as far as it did. Lando Eye is insane. I think the fact that it can either nasty plot or rock polish, either of those boosts, depending on the situation of the match, can absolutely end a game right on the spot. This is a really offensive team. I'm interested to see how the defenses will look because it's not looking very bulky. This is a very hyper offensive team. So it's looking to end matches faster than slower.
And I love that play style. I think Ian's gonna have a lot of fun playing like that. One of the things I don't know, you mentioned Ben, the Samurai Hisui pick. That mon just it never feels like it's value to me. You know, like every time I see it get used, I'm like, we paid that for that. You know, it's just a thing for me about Samurai Hisui that I don't like. But I think that's because I'm generally not a big fan of setting hazards, and so Ceaseless Edge at least fixes that a little bit. But I still don't like the idea that I have to click this one move. It makes playing around pretty easy.
Oh yeah, I think the hazards on his team, like kind of what Ben was saying, with it being so fast, you typically don't need hazards as much. So having so many different ways to set it, and like Hisuian Samurott is kind of known as that hazard setter, seemed a little bit interesting. But like Samurott still hits super hard, right? And if you're clicking a dark type move, a stab dark type move that's already like base 85, so it's better than Crunch, right? And then you're getting the added benefit of, oh, well, spikes are now on the side of the field of my opponent, right? Like this Pokemon is definitely valued. If anything, I think sometimes we rate it too low, just with the amount like of damage and hazards it can kind of control. But yeah,
Yeah. I also think Mega Manectric is pretty sweet. That's a fun
yeah,
Pokemon, and I'm excited to see how it gets played.
great value for
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Pokemon for sure.
Yeah, I
I
agree with that.
I think having because it was only like 7 points, I think,
Uh-huh,
so it
uh-huh.
really kind of rounded out his draft with these super HO high point value Pokemon, and getting something like that for so little points, I think
I,
is really great.
I
Like
do think it is interesting that he has used two of his four waivers already, and we are technically still week zero of this league.
yeah, I think he's kind of I'd be surprised if he made more changes. I don't know. Talking to Ian about his team, he's excited to play this, and it's also like HO has never really been done in our league, and never successfully either. And Ian's always kind of been a pretty balanced team maker. So he's obviously very good at Pokemon. Always like takes top 4 at minimum in our playoffs. Typically makes the finals. He's known as the Kingmaker. Every time he's lost to somebody, it's been to the eventual winner. So he's very well respected. So he's obviously going to do a really good job. I want to see how someone pilots HO in a draft league because I think it's typically worse and harder to prep for. Like I just feel like your options are a little bit more limited. But all right, let's move on to the sixth pick of Schmidt or the Sands team. Sand team.
Yeah, this is Sand. I feel like has been getting weaker and weaker with every iteration or addition of new Pokemon to the pool. The tough thing about building with Sand is just making sure that you're building a team with it that isn't being hurt by the sand, because it is the only the only weather condition that still hurts you with hail being gone. So you got to kind of play around it where it's like, all right, am I willing to take that 6.25% damage every time I bring this Pokemon onto the field? So that can kill some strategies like Pokemon that take advantage of like Focus Sash, or value having as much health as they can get for the remainder of the match. It's something to consider. And I don't know. I just feel like it's really tough to find a successful playstyle with that. And I don't know if Excadrill Tyranitar is enough to compete with just the sheer power that the rest of this league is throwing at it. I think the Dragovish is interesting though, playing into the Sandwar strategy, but I feel like it gets so much more out of what's the other draw? Strongjaw. I think it gets so much more out of Strongjaw, so I could see him playing in between both of those abilities throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the ability to flip between the two there. That'll be fun to see. For me at least, I love the Thundurus pick. I really wanted to play with Thundurus. Ben can attest to that. I actually wanted just the standard, not the incarnate, but I still like both of them. And I think it's a really sweet Pokemon that I'm excited to see perform in our league. Zapdos as a pick here. Whoa, my bad. I looked at the wrong one and my computer monitor freaked out at me. Um, so I love that Thunderous pick, but I really like how this team is full of mons that I feel like are fun to play. Togekiss is such a Togekill Burr Pokemon. Uh, I love Serene Grace. I think it's so stupid and cheesy, but it's so funny. I hate playing against it. I do wish we would have seen Mega Aggron come in instead of Mega Steelix. I think the wall is kind of funny right now, especially in the Pokemon Champions scene. So I would have liked to seen it get played in our league. But I'm really interested to see how this team will come together. I think the sand can be fun to play in, and I like Petrarunt as an ability to kind of flip you in and out of it. So I think it'll be fun.
Adding on to the Steelix, the Mega Steelix, I mean, I think Mega Aggron would be fun, obviously, but I'd love to see a way that he can get like Mega Garchomp on this team, because if he wants to take advantage of like the Sand Force ability, I feel like he'd get way more out of the Mega Garchomp. So if he was able to find enough points to like get it on the team somehow, I think the team would succeed a lot in that sense.
It's a good call
If
out.
only we could have had.
I forgot that Pokemon got Sand Force. I know talking to Colin, he like kind of messaged me some of his thoughts during draft, and he kind of was running out of points, and I recommended Mega or looking at Mega Steelix because for 6 points, I think it pulls a lot of prep, right? Like you need super affecting special attacking moves for this Pokemon, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't break it with a physical attacker. It is not possible. So like he might not bring it that often, or when he does, I think it's something that if the person playing against this Mega Steelix loses their special attacker, or like Colin has come up with like a really good game plan to play around it to make sure that Steelix stays healthy. For the value, I think it's really strong. Um, but yeah, you
Yeah,
can have two Megas. I'm not gonna lie there. You're allowed to take two Mega Pokemon. So
Oh, for sure. And like I think Mega Steelix, like going specifically into that, like yes, obviously you want to find a way to make use of the Sand Force, but at the same time, you even get like a Pokemon that's able to reliably switch in on knockoff, and not take that additional damage from it. Additionally, it's just there to click Stealth Rocks and roar sometimes, and that's all you need it to do.
mhm.
As you let the rest of your team kind of get the rest of the damage on the board. Steelix is there to kind of make sure the sweepers don't sweep and that it's able to gradually add up that damage count in addition to the sand damage on the field.
Love it. All right, my favorite team, 10 out of 10. Let's talk about you, Mike.
the switch up is crazy, bro. I
Yeah.
can't believe you put me in 10th place again. No respect on my name. It's crazy. At least for my team, I went like big brain or small brain, big damage. Um, I want to click powerful moves and force people around that. One of the things that I had a lot of fun playing with in this last split, I dropped Mega Tyranitar so that I'm sorry, I just dropped. Yeah, did I have
That
Mega
was,
T-Tar, Ben?
yeah, in the MWPL
Yeah,
Rookie League, yeah, you did.
yeah. I had Mega T-Tar and I dropped that to pick up Ditto, and I had a lot of fun playing with Ditto. And I think in this Uber's format, having a Ditto on my side is such a little cheese card that's gonna win me a couple of at least individual like 1v1s because it may look like I'm in a bad spot, but then you can pull Ditto out and just immediately copy your opponent and likely be faster. Uh, Gives me a lot of ways out of different and not good situations. Other than that, I'm really excited to play with this team. I really like the way Gothatel's been playing for me on some of the NetDex Uber formats I've been playing in. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So you really
Yeah,
like this Ditto pick? Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, dude, I love Ditto. I think Ditto is criminally underrated. It's worth a lot more in the NW in the Midwest Pokemon League, and so to see it go for 7 points here was I was tempted to take it so much earlier because I was worried somebody else was going to think about taking it. That's how good I think Ditto is.
Okay. Ben, thoughts?
well, to go on the Ditto point, I tend to agree. We do have a price pretty high because it's in addition to like the unaware ability in on most mons, it's a sweep stopper. It prevents you from clicking Dragon Dance too early in a match to the point where Ditto can come in, copy that, and at the least get a few kills before it runs out of PP. So, and then you just switch it out, and then it's there again when you need it again. To add on to Gothitelle, we banned Gothitelle in our league simply for its shadow tag abuse. I remember you mentioned in your video that it's a tactic that's only seen in doubles most of the time. But I think if Mike's team is able to force a lot of these teams into choice items or just in spots where it's locked into a specific move where it can't U-turn or pivot out or anything like that. Gothitelle is in a position to either just take out that Pokemon by itself and then you do the trade if it ends up taking too much damage. But then it can also do the setup set where it's able to take advantage of stored power and be in a position after this Pokemon has died from running out of moves against it. It is able to then just go on and sweep at the +4 plus or the +6/+6 Calm Mind or whatever stats it's boosted. Because I'm pretty sure it gets Cosmic Power. I can't remember. Um, we had a season where it was abused by a single player in the league, and we promptly banned it afterwards. I don't think Mike has to bring this every week to get the value out of it, but I think he just needs to scare somebody with it once early in the season, and then people are going to prep out the wazoos for it if they want to bring Shed Shell to get out of it, if they want to like do what they can or bring enough pivot to be able to escape it. It's essentially doing its job from the bench at that point.
I
Um,
do, yeah, I do agree with that point. And I think I might have mentioned that in my video where like I think having Gothitelle is enough. Like I already have to worry about it in the prep room, right? So whether you bring it or not, like it's kind of making me or forcing me to either run like a shed shell item or think about those choice scarf items and things like that, right? Or choice items. So I do get it at that point. I know we've had Terra Gothitelle before, and our league commissioner, Booty Flute, actually used it to success in playoffs like 2 times in a row, completely diffed somebody, and then we Terra banned it since. And we've seen it like twice, I think, and it's just always been so underwhelming. Like because you almost feel like you want to get your +6, right? Then you have stored power. Then I feel like a lot of the times you want to get some sort of healing, like maybe even get a rest, right, to kind of get off this chip damage. And now you have like one coverage move, or you then have to think about like, well, I'm a super slow, psychic type, which is not a very good type, and now somebody's just gonna one-shot me with a physical move, right? So I can see it flopping a lot of the times. So
yeah, and again, yeah, I think we agree on how this Mon is going to end up being played. As for the rest of the team, though, I'm really excited to see Urshifu Single Strike. It's such a fun mon to play with. A lot of the mons that Mike got on his team are ones that do one thing really well. And which is why we've ended up banning a lot of these Pokemon in our league, like Urshifu, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Palafin. Though all three of those Pokemon are banned in our league, simply because they do the one thing really well. Palafin can function between two sets, and the Ursaluna, Blood Moon, like its standard moveset is the one that it's going to be running every week, and it's just an absolute
An
menace.
absolute nuclear bomb, and the only thing you can do is get out of the way.
Yeah. But you did make a lot of points about the several normal types that he does have on his team, and just how weak he is to the fighting move. I think he can make an adjustment here. I think the Blissey with the last pick was probably not conducive to the strategy that he wants to run with this team. I think it slows him down just a little bit too much. I think if you were able to replace this with like a ghost type that's able to set rocks, or any sort of hazards, I think he'd benefit from that. I was talking with my roommate about this, and we think he'd really benefit from Runarigus, the ghost ground type that was the Galarian form of Cofagrigus. I think that Pokemon would be absolutely great on this team and would add that, not only that physical defense to the team as well, but that immunity he needs to have coverage against the fighting types. So I think if you're able to sub that out and get another hazard setter on the board, because again, I think adding hazards to this board is exactly what he needs to continue to put that pressure on with all these heavy hitters that he has.
I agree with the Blissey and swapping it for a ghost type. I really liked Sinistra. You're really weak to ground, so having like a grass ghost type does not solve the hazards. I will agree with you there. Um, I always
I think Sinister's a great choice. Yes.
yeah I think a bulky ghost is needed on this team, right? You need something immune to fighting types, because you just get absolutely ran by it. I'm also going to be very interested on how you play Palafin, because I've played that Pokemon, and there's a lot of times where it's hard to get the hero form, right? You have a really bulky team, which is good for it, um, but a lot of the times I just let it turn one and then sacked momentum every single time just so I could have hero form, right? And I never wanted to worry about like if I had a band, like oh somebody could outscarf me or outspeed me and now I'm dead, right? So most of the time instead of clicking flip turn, I just went the safe route of pulling it out. So the Pokemon is harder to get activated than people seem. Is my 2 cents for you.
Yeah, the hero form game is a fun game to play. It's all right. I could lead this every time, guarantee get the form after the first turn. But people are going to catch on to, all right, I'm going to lead Palafin every game. So how can I play around that? Where can I find that gap in the game where it's like, okay, now I can get Palafin on the board. Now I can get that free flip turn out, and now I've got the broken Mon. So yeah, I see what you mean there.
Mike, any other last thoughts on your team?
Uh, Ditto's gonna absolutely win me at least 2 games this split, and you guys can mark my words on that right now.
Okay. Everybody here, Ditto's coming at least twice. All right? At least 2 times this season. We will see Ditto. Know that in the prep room. All right, let's move on. We got Big Dova. I love I love and hate this team. I love what he's done. I hate playing against it. What are your guys' thoughts?
I the first thing I have written down for his team is actually the Slow King Ting Lu combo is just such a nightmare combo to have to play against. It just makes me feel so sad. Like I can feel my brain hurting trying to solve that problem and crack that egg. I'm also really jealous that he got Bucephalon. That was a Pokemon I was excited to play with. It looks like such a little, I don't know. There's something about that clown, man. I just want to watch it cook. So I'm excited to see what he does with it this split. I do think that Zapdos is too expensive. 16 for Zap feels not worth it. I can see it being in like the 15, 14 tier. But at that 16 price, there's just stuff that is like actually game breaking. Uh, that I don't think Zapdos quite has that same spook factor, if you will.
I will say once Zapdos got access to Hurricane, its perception of it became more of as a Rainmon than just the bulky flying type that clicks Roost, and Defog as well. I think its perception has changed where you can play it offensively or defensively now. And I think that those extra points do come from its ability to be on a rain team. But obviously, we're not seeing rain here. So yeah, I think you're right, and it's a little bit overpriced for what it could do but can't do because of that. There, I will say there's a lot of dark types on this team. Ting Lu, you guys have priced really high, but maybe that's just because we have it a little lower than people have been playing with. We are a very hyper offensive league ourselves, so maybe that's why we don't have it as valuable. But I think Galarian Slowking is such a good Pokemon to centralize around. It feels like it's the thing that's bringing in, it's keeping the momentum on the board for things like Blacephalon that can again come in, take advantage of that Beast Boost ability, and kind of snowball. I think the Pokemon that's going to be doing probably the most work for this is the Tinkaton, being able to get the rocks up and the Thunder Waves with that high speed stat, especially with Mold Breaker as well, where that's able to function as well. I think it's a really good Pokemon. Um, Ogerpon Wellspring's a really good Pokemon as well. That Pokemon goes in like the first or second round in our league at this point. It's the one we think is the best of the Ogerpons. Um, yeah, it's a solid team. I think it's just overpowered by a lot of other broken teams that are on this board, though.
Yeah, if you guys play a lot of HO, it makes sense to not value this team as high because it really is very defensive. Get up those hazards, keep them up with Mega Sableye. My big knock was I really wanted to see a rapid spin on this team. Your only access to hazard removal is defog on Zapdos, and I think that sucks, especially for wanting to stack hazards yourself. I was even wrong in the fact that I thought you couldn't click defog in front of Mega Sableye's face. You can, you're just gonna lose your own evasion is basically how it works. So it made me feel like this team was a little bit worse off for that. I really want to see a rapid spinner, but I think his defensive core, and if people are unable to break it, he's just gonna win weeks because of that.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, uh, ninth pick here is gonna be our buddy Sir Licky. What do you guys think of him?
Dude, played in the rookie split with me this past year in the Midwest Pokemon League. It was pretty sweet. Uh, his team, I wrote down that Megalop is tough to play against, and I'm not looking forward to it. And then I also wrote down Celesteela is tough to play against, and I'm not looking forward to it. That is just a combo there that the Megalop like always hitting you with the fake out for an absurd number every time makes me so sad. And then I'm flinched right away, and then I have to deal with Celesteela coming back out to just sit in front of me and be big and soak hits. Um, I don't know. It feels really powerful, and I'm sad that I'm gonna have to figure out a way through that. My biggest knock here was the two 10 point Pokemon. I think Raikou and Savali aren't great, and in that 10 tier, that 10 point tier, you've got Mega Aggron, Conkeldurr, Gudra Hisui, Alolan Ninetales, who I think would have been like personally more fun to play with. Um,
Ninetales,
yeah,
although Ninetales just to set up Aurora Veil actually sounds really nice for this team. That's a good
yeah,
that's a
right.
good shout. I think Silbilly is really cool. Um, but like it doesn't fill any role. Its role is kind of like I can do anything, and you already have Mew. So to me, it was kind of
It's
like a weird double up.
yeah, Jack of all trades, master of none. Except for you got it twice with Mew and Savali, so it's like okay, gotta be good at something, boys.
This team's neat. I think this would be a pretty good squad to be running in our league. Just a lot of Pokemon like Mew and Celesteal that are a little tougher to break defensively. The Tapu Fini is always interesting. I think it kind of hampers this team a little bit from Garchomp's perspective, where if you have that terrain up, you essentially have to find a way to play around it so that you're not trying to click your Dragon moves with Garchomp or things like that. Tapu Fini it's always tough to draft because if you draft it, then you have to kind of play all the way into it, and you can't really take advantage of the things that it's blocking. So you can't really set any status conditions, and those dragon moves like Garchomp that likes to take advantage of can't really do it unless that terrain's off the field. Megalopony is it's such a contentious Pokemon in our league because it's tiered super high, but we've had this kind of movement of Rocky Helmet and like Rough Skin Iron Barb Pokemon to prevent it from being able to effectively use the fake outs and those like single turn moves just to get a little bit of damage off for free. I feel like we've kind of done that a little bit to take advantage of it. And that's also why I think Meowscarada has not been viewed as highly in our league as well. Is because if you're going to click that triple axle move, you are going to get hit by that Rocky Helmet and that additional ability as well with that damage. But Megalop is still so good. The scrappy ability is what makes it so broken. I think he's going to have a lot of fun with this team. I just don't know how well the defensive cores on this team are going to be able to survive with just how powerful the rest of the teams are. Like, I think Iron Moth is such a great Pokemon in our league, but I don't know if it's going to be able to keep up with a lot of the Uber Pokemon that are in this league.
Alrighty. Yeah, I like the team overall. I think Mew Savali could potentially be something different, kind of fill more of those defensive gaps. I guess Mew can kind of do that, but just being a pure psychic type makes that a little bit tougher. So I know Austin's excited to play this team, and I think it's overall kind of got a little bit of everything you want. So, but yeah, all right, last one, guys, and then we can be done. We have Jimmy Sparks, who I actually have as the #1 team in our league. What do you guys think about him?
Man, I think Meowscarada sucks. I'll come out and say it. I think that Pokemon is straight buns, bro. I've played it twice across the 2 different seasons that I've played, and I've worked it both times. It dies so easily. Oh, it's a fast cat. That is one fast cat, don't get me wrong. One time I killed it without even clicking a damaging move on it. I just let it click into my Iron Head twice, and it died. And the other time, it sat in front of an Articuno Galar and took an unsuper effective, just standard damaged air slash and got fucking bonked. I like the rest of this team. Like, it feels very defensive and powerful, and the ape is so spooky, dude. The monkey is a scary Pokemon that I don't want to have to play against again. But I've got such a bad taste in my mouth about this team because of Meowscarada and being ranked at #10 and Jack being ranked at #1. Shout out my boy. I can't wait to see him pilot this team. Hopefully he can make me love Meowscarada, but I just don't think Meowscarada's that good.
If anyone's gonna make you love Meow, it's gonna be Jack. Like, he's had this Pokemon I think 5 times now, and it has been like the MVP of our league multiple times. Like, I do get like the Rocky Helmet concept, but I think if you're taking hits as Meow, you're doing something wrong, right? Like, he has the defensive pieces and as well as U-turn, right? Like, it's gonna be a great revenge killer, pivot, right? A way to get in some of his other Pokemon. So I don't think I've ever seen Meow, other than be used as a sack, actually die to a Pokemon's move. And a lot of it is because Jack's done really good in the regular season, and Meow has typically always been at that forefront. So I hope you're excited to watch him play it, because he does a really good job.
It'll be sweet. And it's got some defensive nightmares, dude. I mean, the Clef Aloe Gliscor combo, it makes me so sad. Like, Glamora, like, this team is going to be really hard to put away. And when that cat gets going, dude, I'm telling you, you guys better watch out. I'm not scared of that cat because I got that big dog in me.
All right, Ben, what do you think here?
I think it's amazing to see how centralized the team is around making Annihilate work when it was drafted so late. I think Alomomola is one of the best Pokemon to pair with Annihilate, because Annihilate likes taking hits, right? Because it wants to take the hits that it can boost the power of its Rage Fist. And Alomomola and Clefable give it both wish support to continue to let it take the hits and then heal back up to full, which is where it wants to be, to then get that increased damage on Rage Fist without worrying about fainting to a single hit, because it's a very bulky Pokemon. If you look at its stat distribution, it's built very similarly to like Landorus Therian, where it's deceptively bulky despite Lando having that quad weakness. Like, it's a very bulky Pokemon with a lot of resistances. Annihilate's no different, and it doesn't have that quad weakness, so it's able to take those hits. It's able to pivot really well. Hell, it can even set Stealth Rocks if it wants to, but there's so many other Stealth Rock setters on this team that it doesn't have to do that. Annihilate is insane. If he just wanted to run the Scarf set the entire way through, he could do that. If he wants to run the Bulk Up set, he can. But the thing is, he doesn't have to run Rest as part of it because he's got those Wish Passers passing into it. I think Lamora functions really well with it as well. The more status and damage that can be set on the field by Glamora early in the match, it's going to cause folks to have to deal with it later. And then as soon as they try to remove it with something like Rapid Spin, boom, here comes Annihilate to be immune to that Rapid Spin. They want to defog it, boom, Annihilate comes in, gets the Defiant boost, and now you got to deal with a +2 Annihilate that has probably taken already some hits in the game, and it's got a very powerful Rage Fist to send the game home. This is a really scary team. I think this is probably the second best team on the board besides that Psychic Terrain team that you're piloting. And then he just has, the Volcarona in the back as well. Like, if he didn't already have the sweepers on the board, he's got the set of Sweeper Volcarona in the back as well. This is a really good team. I'm really excited to see this one played. And if he's as confident as you're saying he is with how he plays Meowscarada, I'm excited to see how he pilots it.
All right, sweet. Any other kind of closing thoughts from you all?
I'm really excited to play more Pokemon with my boys. Since I picked up the hobby with that first summer split last summer, I've basically been playing in back-to-back-to-back leagues. So it's fun that I'm getting into this thing and I'm not burned out on it yet. But yeah, looking forward to clicking some moves and playing the game.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I think it having me take a closer look at these teams has kind of gotten me more excited to see how they play. So I'd be happy to tune in for some of these and see how the season goes.
I'll get you a Discord invite. We're pretty consistent where we always try to play our games on Sunday
I heard you
nights.
guys have Sunday
Yeah, it's
night
a nice
Smackdowns. It's
a
fun.
nice watch party. It's really cool. It's like one of my favorite parts of the entire week. So we'll get you in that Discord. Otherwise, Ben, I know you stream. Do you have a YouTube channel? You want to shout that out, and I'll put it in the description below too.
Yeah, I stream on Twitch and YouTube, both at WPBeartic, Beartic how it's spelled. I stream some shiny hunting, a little bit of accessory Pokemon games, and then also Kaizo Ironmon runs in Generation 3. So definitely tune in if you get the chance. Love to have more folks in chat to chat with while I'm monotonously shiny hunting.
Sweet. All right, Ben, Mike, thank you for coming. A little bit longer than I thought, but I love talking about Pokemon, and it's awesome to see different perspectives too from people who have typically been outside of our league, right? And Mike, you're kind of a little bit of both. So thanks everybody for tuning in and watching. From here on out, it's just going to be regular content for me of whatever my matchup's going to be for this week. I hope you guys enjoy and tune in, and I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.